So moving along with the first parts of R2D2. Now with the instructions, you will see you've got our little piece just here, and then we've got some instructions, right? We don't have like 1, 2, 3 actually on the piece itself, so we do need to sort of basically get this orientated, get it to look exactly like the picture, put it up against the picture, because I mean you will see that, you know, there are sort of differences in these 3 pieces, and get them to match up on there, and just carefully follow these instructions. So when cutting these off, I mean, we can just get away with popping them off, right? We can just sort of go pop, right? Not very professional just to sort of pop them off, but here's piece 1, which then, where's his head gone? Which then, if we look at this, we want to sort of look at the pictures and try as best as we can, right? Let's get this on camera. Try as best as you can to sort of just orientate your piece the same as it is in the magazine, and then we get our piece and we just sort of try and orientate this piece the same way, and you should, if you just follow everything and orientate everything just the same as what you see in the pictures, you should get these in here just nice, just the same, just like so. Now it does, you know, hold in quite nicely, but again, you know, it's totally up to you. But if you want to get out the glue and just to give yourself that bit of extra peace of mind, which I do like to do, right, what we can do is not from the front, let's go from the back. Because we've got access to the back, let's just always try and take the back if we've got access to the back first, because it's always better that way. Because the other thing you got to remember about using these types of glue is these are pre-painted. If we went off, and actually, one second, I do have a completed R2D2 just here. I'm going to ruin this one just to show you why you've got to be careful when using these types of glue, right? If we went off, right, and pushed onto here, onto our R2D2, right, as you can see, this glue, because it melts 2 pieces of plastic and brings them together, it also has that same sort of reaction with the paint, right? As you can see there, it just kind of rehydrates the paint and messes it all up. So I've ruined that so you don't go off and ruin yours. Right, so just put him out the way, and basically what you want to do is follow the instructions as it says, taking these pieces off. Now, to kind of do it the proper way, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to go out and get yourself some cutters. These cutters are rather good, right, and we can just cut these off of the sprue, right? Because we haven't got to worry about this side of the piece, it's only this side of the piece that's the detail, the part where we're cutting isn't, so we haven't got to worry too much. Nice and simple, cut them off, and then piece 2 will go into the next position and the next position for all 3 pieces. So now we're moving on to issue 2. In issue 2, there's a few things just in here. We start moving along with like the whole laser component stuff. We've got one leg just here now. I do realise I'm going over a few basics in this episode 1, and that's just so I can sort of prepare you nicely for all the rest, and as these episodes go along it will sort of pick up the pace, because I won't be sort of showing all these basics. But what we have here is this leg here. Now it does clip in and sort of kind of lock down, but I like to give it that little bit of an extra edge. Now the missus might not like you for this, but go out and nick some of the some pegs. These pegs are really good for this sort of thing, where what we can do is, okay, we can press this down and it does sort of lock in sort of pretty good, but to give it that extra little bit of a professional touch, right, what we can do is we can use these pegs to sort of lock them down while we come along and just touch in a bit of our Tamiya extra thin cement, just following the join line all the way around. and basically this the peg just holds it down and keeps it nicely into place. Right, making sure everything is all good. Yeah, and not only that, I mean, what you might find is just here there is a bit of a gap. Right, there is a bit of a gap right in here. Right, so what we can do is by putting the peg down, well actually let's just get a bit on the underneath, and then we'll put the peg just there. And hopefully what will happen is, because Tamrex thin cement melts the two pieces of plastic, that little gap there should hopefully take care of itself. Right, because what's going to happen is, as the two pieces of plastic melt, hopefully they'll just squash down that little bit better with the pressure of the peg, and hopefully that gap there will then disappear, which hopefully you can sort of already see that it is disappearing. Right, hopefully you can just see that it's just starting to sort of disappear. It's getting better and better, a little bit more pressure. I mean, this side is already basically gone, and it just gives you that better looking sort of finish. Because there is one thing I don't know if I sort of mentioned at the beginning, but the one thing I do want to do with this, I am umming and ahhing whether not to sort of repaint this whole kit. But one thing I'm definitely going to be doing is weathering it, giving a bit of extra weathering, because as you can see, as much as, you know, R2-D2 is nicely sort of painted and everything, I mean, if we added a bit of weathering to this, we can really sort of bring him to life that a lot more, shall we say, and give our kit a lot more. I think that's probably the route I'm going to go down. I mean, completely respraying it, it's going to be a lot of work. I don't think many of you are going to do that, but there are some really cool weathering techniques that we can do, which are quick, they're easy, and it'll just give it so much more extra life, and it just gives that nice extra oomph, and I think you'll like that when we come round to it. So we leave that now all nicely locked down and leave that to dry. Now we do sort of come into a little bit of lighting, and we've got this sort of nice cool lighting just here. Now later on, I can't remember which issue it was, but a couple of issues not very far, probably the next month's set of issues, they do give you this sort of battery testing pack just here. So if we whack in some batteries just here, right, what we can do is, plain and simply, let's just poke this in there. Is it the right way around? No, it isn't. There we go. Push that into there, and boom, there we go. Quick test, make sure that LED is working, because trust me, I've done it before in the past. You build a model, and then you come round to actually turn it all on, and one of the LEDs is not working, you know, and once you put it all together, it's a right pain. So always test that kind of stuff first. Now what we've got here, we've got to push this LED into there. It's a little bit tricky to push in, because it's one of these sort of, like, you've got to push it in first, and then once it's pushed in, it's got a nice sort of tight fit. So maybe just use a little screwdriver, push that in like so, until it's just nicely protruding just there. Now the one other problem is as you're sort of building up, there's loads more pieces that go along here, and as you're building it all up, you I have done it, you do sort of potentially kind of instinctively go to push something on there, and you push down with your finger, and then oh, pop, you've pushed that in, but you've built, you know, part of this as you've gone along, and it just you basically got to take things apart to push it back in. So what I will recommend, right, so push that back in there, I will recommend go out, just get some PVA glue, really sort of cheap and easy. Where's my PVA glue gone? I did have some around. Any old sort of cheap PVA glue will do. You know, sort of crafty stuff. Maybe just clean off the end of this, because it has been used before. Let's just see if it's going to pour out. Yeah, there we go. And what you want to do is just squirt in a load of this right in here. Right, there we go. And then we want to sort of leave that to dry. There might be a little bit too much in there, but yeah, leave that to dry so it locks it in and it ain't gonna accidentally sort of push that in and it goes out again. So just do that.